Still moving. I can't get no closer.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Thanks for being here tonight. Got a great show planned for you. Tonight, we're going to be chatting with a man that his nickname is Iron Man, and he actually got this video on his property. He lives out there in North Texas, and if you're watching this on iTunes or whatever your podcast player is, there should be a video, and if you actually tap the video and then turn it sideways, it'll actually play in full screen if you want to watch as we discuss the video a little bit different way. I know on almost every Apple player it plays. Android's a little bit different. On most of them it plays. If it doesn't, download CastBox. It's a free app, and you can actually watch a video and see my ugly face on on screen. But thanks so much for being here tonight. If you've had an encounter and you'd like to be on the show, shoot me an email. My email address is wes@sasquatchchronicles.com. And if you get a chance, check out sasquatchchronicles.com. You can become a member and get additional shows. This is going to be part of my Chronicles After Dark, and I'm just kind of testing things out, so bear with me. I'm pressing buttons, and I'm just kind of hoping for the best. Tonight, we'll be chatting with Iron Man, and he captured the video. This is kind of a stabilized version of the video he captured out there in Texas. Iron Man, thanks for coming on the show, man.
Hey, brother, appreciate you having us, and God bless everyone.
Yeah, I appreciate you being here very much. Tell me about this video. I know that you live in North Texas and you're on your farm. If you would kind of tell us about the video, what were you doing when you captured it, and then kind of talk about what you saw with the naked eye.
All right, Wes. What was happening was it was July the 24th, about 4 weeks ago. Saturday morning. As always, I'm going out to my prayer room. I'm a pastor, so I'm always going out to my prayer room to prepare my message. And it was just a beautiful morning. Sun was coming up, and I'm out there sipping coffee, playing with my new pup out there, just having a good time and just getting ready to go to the prayer room. And I looked toward the east. Something caught my eye, and I could see it looked like a big head, and it was moving across a couple pastures over, and it was moving real quick. And I said, this is strange. So I get to my pocket as quick as I can to turn on my phone, try to get it on video, and try to zoom in on this thing. And I started watching it, trying to keep it in frame, and it's moving quickly. And I noticed that it looks like a deer on its back. And I'm thinking, man, this is crazy. This thing's huge. It's moving fast. And I'm trying to keep it in frame, watching it. And, it was hard to do, And so it went down to the bottom of the property down there, and it looked like it got in some trees. And I couldn't see it with my eyes, but I kept a phone going for a little bit longer. And I'm glad I did, because it came out and it went behind the post, and then it just disappeared. And I think it just went back toward the east and probably went toward the lakes area, up that area. And I'm not sure exactly where it went, but I couldn't see it no longer. So that was basically it. And it was kind of terrifying, but exciting and all at the same time, and just, trying to stay focused, and just couldn't believe what I saw.
Yeah, it's very cool. I'm sitting here watching it on the screen, and that thing's moving fast. In the very beginning of it, it almost kind of looks like the creature stops and actually looks at you.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it looked at me because the sun was coming up, and I could tell that it was a reddish color. But what happened as I studied it closer on my video, and I blew it up on my iPad, what it does, it comes to a fence line right there, and it steps over that fence line like it's nothing. And I think it's about 3 seconds that it pauses. And that's amazing because I measured the fence out where it crossed. It was 48 inches tall. And so I'm thinking that it probably just took its hand and pressed down the fence and stepped right over it and went like it was like it does it all the time, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah, it's very cool. Most people don't think about grabbing their phones. It's not the first thing in our heads when we have an encounter, but this situation is a little bit different. I mean, you're on your farm, it's a distant distance away from you, and you decide to. Did you record it with your phone?
It was just my phone. I just thought I'd try to videotape it where I could. I was going to take a picture, but I said, picture's not going to show nothing. So I hit the video button and try to zoom in best I could and try to keep it focused. And it really was hard, because it's about 125 to 130 yards away. And for that distance with the telephone, I think it's a pretty good video, man.
I think it's a really good video. I think it's a really, really cool video that you got. I'm so glad you decided, really decided to share it. And as you and I were talking on the phone earlier, I was asking you, was there anything else that was going on the property? And it's my understanding nothing really has happened on this property prior to this.
No, me and my wife, we've been here 25 years. We built this house and we've been out here on this farm. I raise goats and chickens and nothing has ever happened. We've had a lot of livestock come up missing and we hadn't been sure what had happened. It could have been something took it, chickens missing, goats missing. But automatically you think that someone has, jumped the fence while you're at church or whatever, steal it. But now we're kind of like thinking maybe something, came in and took it and left, especially when you see, a creature moving this fast. And plus, when I looked at it, it was a reddish color. I could see that it had a reddish tone to it. And the deer, I could tell was a gray color. And people said, my friends said, well, how can you tell what color it was from that distance? I said, well, if you look across the field and you see a cow, 100 yards away, can you not tell what color it is? I said, in the same way, I could tell that it was a reddish color, animal or creature. So.
Yeah, no, and I know growing up, your dad shared an encounter that he had back in 1958, and I want to talk about that and kind of play his encounter here in a moment. But tell me about Oklahoma. I know you were in Oklahoma and you got a picture of something in a tree, and I'll show that here in a moment. But you also got vocalizations. You recorded these strange vocalizations. Tell me about that.
The vocal that we got, me and my wife, we were down in Octavia, Oklahoma, which is, I think it's probably about 50 miles north of Beaver Bend up in that area. So it's up in the mountains. And so we had leased a cabin. So we went up there and it was about sunset. We were out walking by a big lake out there. And all of a sudden we started hearing something screaming. And so, I didn't have my phone, but I did grab my camera that I had. It was just a little Kodak camera, but, I hit the film like I'm going to film. And I figured if there's something out there that I could, record, it's going to pick it up pretty good. And it did. It picked it up pretty good. And so I recorded it as long as I could. And then I hit it again when I started hearing it again. So several times I cut it on and off. So I was just trying to capture it. But it sounded strange. It was a holler. It was down in the bottoms. There's a river that runs through there. I could tell it's probably about a half a mile or a mile away, but it was loud. But I wasn't quite sure what it was. And I asked the people in the area, is there elk in this area? Is there any moose in this area? And they said, no, just there's black bear, there's mountain lions and things like that, but no elk. So anyway, that's what I got.
Yeah, let's take a listen.
Sasquatch in the background. This is the last night we're here, and he started up again. He's so unpredictable, you can't tell when to turn on the camera or not. There he goes. A little bit. Yes. Come on. Yes. Gosh. Oh yeah, this is good.
Yeah, it's strange. It's very strange. Kind of reminds me of my dog whining in the background. I know a lot of times when you record audio, it doesn't quite translate from listening to what you heard. And I think you're right. I don't know that there is elk in Oklahoma. I'm not sure, but I kind of don't think that there is.
Well, there was no, the guys I talked to, I went to the sporting goods up there in Beaver Bend and asked them, is there any elk in this area? And they specifically said, no, there's no elk, there's no moose, there's just, black bear and mountain lions and stuff like that. So, no, I don't know what it was. I just know that it wasn't something that I've heard before. And I'm on a survival team, and I've been doing survival for 12 years, and I have never heard nothing like that. Now, you're hearing probably a poor recording because it's on a little Kodak camera. But, what I heard with my ears was so much louder, and it was crazy sounding. It didn't sound like a dog for sure, and there's some farms down the road from it. And I'm not saying it couldn't be a dog, but it didn't sound like a dog to me hollering.
Yeah, I got you. That was just kind of my first impression when I heard it. And if you're recording it with a Kodak camera, I mean, it picked it up pretty well for how far away it was. The other thing I want to talk to you about is this picture you sent me of what. Let's see if I can zoom in on it. Of what appears to be, I mean, it's a blob squatch, but I mean, there's something there. And I know you were talking about it being a small child or a smaller Sasquatch is basically what you saw. Tell me about this picture.
It was last November. I was doing one of my survival trips, but this time I was out solo. So I was really already kind of nervous because when you're out in the deep bush by yourself, naturally, you're going to be nervous. But it was a Saturday, I think it was. And I was headed down to the river, going to walk down the river, probably a mile or so, just, where it curves and just take a look and see what's going on down there. And so I got down around the corner and I saw a big tree. I think it was an ash tree. It fell across the river. And there was a bunch of turtles on it. So I just wanted to get a picture of myself. I take a lot of pictures. And when I did, I was, taking a selfie. And after I got through, I looked up and where the river split, it goes back down west and it also goes south. There's a fork in the river. And I guess it was about 150 yards down that river. And there was something standing there looking at me. And I just froze. I mean, I was terrified because I knew it wasn't a man, and I didn't know exactly. I said, man, this has got to be Bigfoot. And I am like just freaking out. So I'm trying to ease as slow as I can into my pocket, and I got Velcro on my uniform. I'm trying to open it up without making a bunch of noise, trying to get my camera out so I can take a picture of this thing. And I think the moment that I took the picture, it must have turned, because when you look at the picture, the head is way out of focus. But you can see the chest on that thing, and it's a female, and you see a big breast on it. And so I stepped to the north to try to get a better picture. And when I did, I took another picture, and I didn't see the big female, but I actually caught a baby in the bush. And it was small compared, way smaller than its mama. It was probably about 2.5, maybe 3 feet tall. The head of it was about the size of I'd say grapefruit, real small head. and it was looking toward the south, toward its mom. And so I guess she had shuffled back into the bush while the baby was waiting on her. And so I basically just went on down the river a little farther, and I jumped up a white-tailed deer, and it scared the fire out of me. I thought, man, I'm fixing to go down. I thought Sasquatch had me, but it was just a deer. You know how they snort, and it scared me real bad. And so I came back where I saw him, and I didn't see him anymore. So the whole trip, I'm sitting there waiting and wondering, where they at. Well, that night, I didn't tell you, but that night at camp, I always make like a walking stick. So I had carved this walking stick that I've been working on for the past couple of days, and I had it leaning against a certain tree over by the campfire. So when I went to bed in my hammock, the next morning when I'd woke up, that walking stick was laying right next to me beside my hammock. So it wasn't a coon, it wasn't a possum, it was whatever was out there. It could have had me, but it took that stick and laid it right next door to where I was sleeping that night. And I heard something pop that night, but never saw anything. So that's a scary thought, because it just tells me if these things wanted me, they could have had me, because I was all by myself out there.
Yeah, that is a scary thought. It's a very scary thought. Tell me about the female that you saw.
Well, at first, she wasn't moving at all. I mean, it was like she was just like frozen. And it was, I was thinking, well, maybe she's, like me, just, scared as well. But she was very large. I would say this thing, it was bigger than what I saw here on my farm. She was very wide, like almost as wide as a double wide ice box. But she was a good 8 foot tall. And I mean, I'm not exaggerating. This thing was big. And so, but she was gone, that quick. So they can move like a deer, just that quick. And so, I mean, she was sort of I would say like a sort of an orangish red color. She wasn't real dark, but the baby itself was a brown color. So they were different colors. So that's unusual to me to think about that.
Yeah, it is a little weird. I know through many different Sasquatches, though, many different encounters, they do come in different colors, but you would think the child and the mother would be the same color. I get it. I know that you grew up and your dad shared an encounter. You really knew about Bigfoot back when you were growing up because your dad had an encounter in 1958. Before I play his encounter, if you would, what do you remember from what your dad told you about his encounter in 1958?
Well, what he had told me, we heard this story our entire life, me and my brothers and sisters and my uncles and everybody wanted to hear the story, because it was just a fantastic story. And everybody knew that my dad, he was a very honest, truthful man. And when he tell you something, you could believe him. Like I tell people, hey, if my dad tells you that it's Easter, you can color some eggs because it's going to be Easter, because he's very truthful. And so he would always tell us that, he was out with his brother-in-law and they were out working all day, hauling hay for this old farmer. And so they came back to the farm and basically they had a couple beers, with the old man before they left. And so they're headed down a country road out in Union Valley, Texas. And so I'll let you play the rest of the story. So let him tell it. He tells it better than I do.
All right, let's take a listen.
My name is Wendell Brockway. I'm talking about a thing that happened to me in 1958. I was about 1 mile out of Union Valley, Texas. And me and my brother-in-law was down Joe Anderson's hauling hay. We had a big truck to unload, and we unloaded it, stacked it in the barn. And then we got ready to come home, and we got in the car. We was in an old car, an old Studebaker. We was driving down the road, and there's a old house on the left-hand side, and an old corral. And we went by it, and as we was going by it, I looked over to the left, and I seen this big white thing standing up yelling, and it made my hair on the back of my neck stand up. And my brother-in-law was driving, and he looked over at me and he said, "Wendell, you see that?" And I said, "Yeah, I seen it." I said, "What was it?" He said, "I don't know, Wendell, but it's something." I said, "Well, turn around, let's go back and look at it." So he went up about a half a mile, and there's an old road, and he pulled in there, and we turned around and went back. I didn't have nothing other than a cold drink bottle in the floor, so I picked it up. He said, "What are you going to do with that?" I said, "Well, man, that's a big thing. I don't know what it is." I said, "I think it's some kind of monster or something." And we pulled back by there, and that thing was still out there. And he's shaking his hands up and down. And he was white, had them long hairs on his arms and body. And my brother-in-law said, "Do you see that?" And I said, "Yeah, I see it." And we went on back down the road, and we turned around again and went back. And when we went back, it was gone. And we pulled on past it, went on into town. I told my wife about it, and my sister, but they didn't believe me. But I actually seen it. And Fred Taylor was my brother-in-law. And if he was still alive, he could tell the same story. But that was back in 1958. I'm glad to be able to tell the story about it. That's all of it.
Your dad seems so cool. I know he's not with us anymore, but that's super cool that you're able to record that. I wanted to ask you, I know out there in North Texas, well, pretty much everywhere in Texas, the ground is like concrete out there, and the audience is going to, they're going to hang me from the town square if I don't ask. After you recorded this video, did you ever go back and actually look for footprints?
Well, my grandpa, he was a great hunter and great tracker and a great, he was great at setting traps and stuff. And he taught me a lot. And so I had a lot of people say, go down there and check. And I did and see I took a baggie with me to see if I could, pick up some hair off the wire. But where it crossed, the grass was pressed down. There was no hair. It looked like the fence was a little bit oily, maybe from his skin residue, oil residue on his hand or whatever. But he crossed. I could tell where he crossed because the grass was pressed down. But the ground, we hadn't had no rain in forever out here, and it was hard as a brick. So there was no footprints. There was nothing that I could see. And I looked on both sides, and there was nothing, So I wished I could have got footprints.
Yeah, I know how hard the ground is out there, and it really is like concrete. I'm sitting here watching this video. Man, that thing is really hauling. I mean, it's moving fast across your property.
Right. It looks like he's headed home, because it's early in the morning and he's trying to get back to somewhere. So you can tell that he's rushing, and it's so strange that he's carrying a deer, and I've seen a few deer out this way. So I know there is some. My mother-in-law, she lives probably, I don't know, 6 miles, 7 miles from me. And I saw a deer going to her house, I guess last December. So I know there's some deer out here.
Yeah, it's a really cool video, man. I can't commend you enough for capturing it. Gosh, it's so cool. I would love to know if the creature actually returns to your property. What do you think that these creatures are, Iron Man? There's obviously no wrong answer, but I'm curious on your opinion.
Well, that's $100 question there, man. There's I really can't answer that. I think it's some type of gorilla, ape, but it has so many human characteristics. For what I've seen, I mean, it just moved like a man, but it's so much bigger than a man. And biblically, there's nothing in the Bible that talks about a creature like this. So I don't I can't really pinpoint it what it is, So I'm just going to have to trust God with that answer,
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. It's so hard to know what they are. I respect your answer. No one really knows what they are, but it's so odd, and it's such a cool video that you got. I know you're part of a band called Stained Red, and you got the nickname Iron Man, which is kind of a cool nickname. But tell me a little bit about your band, Stained Red.
Stained Red. I started this group back in 2018, almost 3 years now. We're a Christian rock band. We play a little bit on the metal edge. We've been played on like 14, 15 different Christian radio stations. We share the word of God through our music. I write all the lyrics. I'm also a pastor, so I just, we try to share the word of God through our music. We got a new single that just came out. It's called Bad Misconception. Look it up on YouTube. And you can also go to our website, which is stainedred.net, and check us out. And they call me Iron Man. I don't know if I told you, but I had 12 spinal surgeries. I had 4 in my neck and 8 in my back. So the nickname kind of came. Guys were joking around with me and saying, you really are Iron Man in it. And we were all laughing. But next thing you know, everybody's calling me Iron Man. So it just kind of stuck.
Yeah, well, I can, you can never choose your nickname, and I can think of a lot of other, worse nicknames to be called beyond Iron Man. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, man.
But Iron Man, I appreciate you coming on, man, and sharing the video. A lot of times people get this sort of evidence. I don't know if you call it evidence, but it's a cool capture that you got. And then they never come forward or they never share it. And the fact that you did share it, man, I really appreciate it. And I really enjoyed talking with you. Thank you again for coming on.
Well, man, let me just say this, that, there's a lot of people out there who are, trying to hoax everybody with fake videos. But the truth is, man, I'm a full-time pastor. I'm in a Christian rock band, and we're always busy, and I got my family, and there's no way that I have time to sit out there and try to set up a hoax. What I did, I saw something, I videotaped it, and I try to send it out there because I know there's a lot of people who love Bigfoot, and I figured, man, this would be what they want to see. So that's the reason I did it. I wasn't trying to cause any conflict or just trying to show what I saw.
Yeah, I never thought that you did, and I find the video very compelling. And I don't think there's as many as hoaxed videos as people think there is out there. And I just can't thank you enough, man, for coming on and for sharing it. Thank you again.
All right, brother. You have a good evening, and God bless everybody.
Thanks so much, Iron Man.